Just a week ago or so, SBoys3 native SteamVR driver got a major update to version 1.3 Beta 1. And believe it or not, it now supports the majority of Pimax VR headsets, introducing full slam tracking compatibility. Since the previous version, SBoys3 also allows for Tobii eye tracking with foveated rendering, including quad views being capable of running over SteamVR. On top of that, there are a bunch of features inside of the bundled custom headset software that I didn't even touch before. Now, after geeking out for a couple of days with multiple headsets, I must say I am blown away. Keep watching and I'll tell you why. With Pimax Play Evo that was introduced not long ago, Pimax gave us a neat feature called OpenPort. This allows verified third-party drivers to exclusively take control over the headset's rendering pipeline. Initially, this only worked with the Lighthouse version of Dream Air, and I made 2 videos about it in the past. Now, a while ago, we shipped out almost every existing Pimax headset to SBoys3, and thanks to his hard work and amazing cooperation with our engineers, all these headsets now work with his SteamVR driver, including full 6-DoF room scale tracking, both Lighthouse and Slam tracking. This means SBoys3 now fully supports Dream Air, Dream Air SE, Crystal Super, Crystal Lite, and the original Crystal, and even the older generations such as 5K Plus, 5K Super, 8KX, and a few others. While tracking of Lighthouse compatible headsets is still handled by the native SteamVR driver, just like previously with the Dream Air, tracking of slam-tracked headsets is now simultaneously managed by the Pimax Evo runtime in the background. All you need to do is to connect the headset, boot up Evo, enable open port mode, and run custom headset software. Then fire off SteamVR and see the magic happen. In terms of slam tracking, I've tried it so far with the Dream Air, Crystal Lite, and the Crystal Super. I see no added latency or any issues introduced with this approach, so it looks like slam tracking works just like normally with Pimax Play. Obviously, you need to pair your controllers to your slam-tracked headset through Pimax Evo, but you can do that at any point, even while native SteamVR mode is running. The interesting thing is that Slam now acts like regular Lighthouse tracking within SteamVR, or at least it looks like that. Instead of the normal Pimax room setup with the inside-out camera view, you simply run the good old SteamVR room setup to configure your sitting position or play area for room scale gaming. Just as you would expect, you switch between the available refresh rate mode and adjust the resolution and the super sampling directly within SteamVR, among many other features of course. And yes, the amazing SteamVR motion smoothing works out of the box with just one click. And as I've said before, it does an amazing job with motion reprojection, especially with VR flight simulators and racing simulators. In fact, I often find myself preferring to play with motion smoothing enabled instead of trying to reach a stable 90 frames per second. I manually lock the frame rate to 45 frames per second or the half of whatever refresh rate I'm running, and this allows me to bump up the in-game graphical settings a lot without suffering frame loss and stutters. Anyway, let's head over to the custom headset software. In the latest 1.3 Beta 1 version, we now have a whole bunch of new pages available. Apart from the Distortion profile page, the general app settings and about page, we see separate tabs for Dream Air and the Dream Air SE, the Crystal series of headsets, as well as the P2 generation headsets, all split into its own sub-pages. Whatever headset you're running, you can manually adjust and customize dozens and dozens of options. Going through all of them would probably take forever, and I did so in previous videos. But there is a General tab, which I previously didn't even bother to explore, to be honest. It includes settings that can be applied regardless of which VR headset you're running. Here, you'll find a category called Custom Shader. It's a feature that replaces the shader in SteamVR Compositor. This means we have tons of settings and adjustments to apply to enhance, correct, and customize the visuals. And wow, some of these settings are game-changing. I remember talking to SBoys3 several months ago, and he told me to try the custom shader filters, which I totally forgot. Now, after giving it some time with mainly the Dream Air and also the Crystal Lite, I am kind of blown away. Yeah, we all know that Pimax Play includes its own sharpness feature, but when running the native SteamVR driver, Pimax Play settings like these are not applied to the pipeline and therefore has no effect. Now, with the native SteamVR driver, enabling Contrast Adaptive Sharpen or CAS gives the headset that crisp, super sharp image full of contrast that just looks so good in simulators or games in general that it just blows me away. Same for FXAA2 CAS and Luma Sharpen. I think you need to try these filters on your own and decide which one looks best for you, also depending on what game or simulator you're running. The filter FXAA2 CAS sharpens the image while smoothing out jagged edges. Very practical when playing casual VR games and shooters. SBoys3 actually said it's his favorite. As for me, CAS and Luma Sharpen are my favorites. These two mainly sharpens the image and enhances the contrast, introducing additional clarity that you'll never get otherwise, no matter how high you would push the resolution without filters. CAS and Luma Sharpen are also not affecting aliasing much, from what I can tell at least if you stay close to 100% SteamVR resolution regardless of VR headset you use. If you lower the resolution, then yes, aliasing or jagged edges might become more obvious. In my opinion, Luma Sharpen set to between 2 and 3 just feels like the best option in most games. It doesn't oversharp the image unlike CAS can do, and readability of small text becomes almost too good to be true. Sure, I mean, the Dream Air provides a very sharp image right out of the box. However, image sharpening filters like Luma and CAS makes even bigger difference on other Pimax models, such as the Crystal Light or older P2 models. Then we have other shader options like saturation. When playing colorful games like Lucky's Tale on your Pimax headset with the QLED panels, such as the Crystal Light for instance, an increased saturation simply adds new life to your visuals. It almost feels like OLED displays, at least in daylight scenes. I mentioned this before, I think, the V-value of color option at, let's say 1.2 dramatically increases image brightness intensity without destroying contrast or blowing out the whites. So your headset simply feels brighter. sRGB color correction is also useful to achieve a more realistic VR view if you feel that your Dream Air has too punchy colors on default. I think you really need to elaborate with all these different sliders, and you'll be amazed how many of them can change or enhance the looks of any game or environment that you are in VR. It's kind of like running reshade presets, but here's it's done natively in the SteamVR render pipeline, which means it works with anything you play in VR. And this is just one of the big strengths of SBoys3 native SteamVR driver. It adds almost a stupid amount of customization, which I think most of us VR geeks have been asking for years. Lastly, there are a few things to consider before running the SBoys3 with your Pimax. As you can read in the GitHub release notes and also on the Distortion profile tab, not all Pimax headsets have customized or even proper distortion profiles made for the current version of the SBoys3. Currently, only the Dream Air and the Dream Air SE have optimized custom distortion profiles, which are really good, by the way. The older generation, including 5K+, 8KX and so on, has built-in default or original Pimax distortion profiles grabbed from the Pimax APA, which is great. But the Crystal series, on the other hand, including the Crystal Super, Crystal Light and the original Crystal, are currently lacking their own specific profiles with this driver. So as you can tell, this is kind of a work in progress. Anyway, with the Crystal Light, I could easily use the default Dream Air distortion profile and it looked pretty decent in games, although far from perfect. It's not really bad, but you will see some edge distortions and edge blur, as well as geometry being slightly off. The original Crystal, as well as the Crystal Super, does not have their own distortion profiles either, and here you cannot really use the Dream Air profile. So these headsets, they don't look good with this driver right now until SBoys3 have updated the new profiles. I think it's all a matter of time until we have all these headset profiles and additional features sorted out, so please have some patience. And don't forget to support SBoys3 for his amazing efforts. He really deserves that, and you'll find multiple ways to support him under the About page of the software. Alright, that's all I have for today. Try the SBoys3 on your Pimax and let us know what you think. Thank you for watching everyone, hit that like button and I'll see you in the next one.